So real quick, my name is Justin Fordham. I'm with auction.com. I work on the auction support team. So what happens is what I do is I actually go to the live auctions and I actually will cry the sale or manage the asset. So what we'll do is we'll bring it from opening to close. Someone will bid on a property and they will, be the winning bid. I'll actually take in that information, log it, register it, and process it for the sale so that person can go ahead and own their home. When I'm not doing that, I'll do marketing events such as this one, webinars, and live events when we did have live events when outside was open to everyone. Yeah, so that's what I do with auction, and I try to educate people on the platform, on the different tools that we have, and try to network them with people such as yourself that can help them purchase that property.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. So yeah, so I mean, I know you people probably have a lot of questions for you, particularly, right? Because you're involved in a lot of you're obviously taking properties from the bank. Well, let me just explain to people. You and correct me if I'm wrong, but you represent the bank in the sale of these properties, correct?
That is correct. Yes, we represent the banks at the auction. We pretty much manage the asset for them. So a lot of the banks are our clients, and we actually manage the assets for the banks.
Right, exactly. And right now, everyone's talking about, they're all getting hungry for these deals that are about to hit our market. Right. So I guess tell us a little bit from your side, what happened, this whole 2020. Did auctions just stop? Were you guys still doing them? Like, what kind of happened?
Yeah, so I can go back a little bit. It was actually prior to us meeting that we actually had this whole thing happen. Going back in early January, late December, we started seeing like a less increase of assets that were coming to the auction. And at one point, we showed up, we had a full room of about 100 people and there were only 3 assets. And no one really knew what was going on. I mean, relative to what was going on in the business at the time, we knew that the commercial market had fell out months before, and we just didn't know how the commercial market would impact the residential and vice versa. But in the beginning, I would say mid through January, the sales started getting lesser. And there was at one point I was going out to Nassau County to actually go cry a sale. And a week after that, COVID hit and everything was shut down. A lot of any deals that were in the pipeline suddenly just ceased. While we didn't have assets to sell live, our platform was still thriving. So while people weren't coming in to buy live, our assets online and the people that were there actually started to increase as we started to make the change over from analog to digital with buying these properties. So yeah, we pretty much did a 360 from live to full on digital.
Right. So before all this, like, were most of your deals sold live or more digital with auction.com?
So it'll always be more digital than they are live, but we still have a large group of assets that go live. So for me, myself, like I cover the New Jersey market. So Northern Jersey, I'd cover about 5 counties or so. And at any point in time, we'd have at least no less than 12 to maybe 13 assets per property. And then that went from 13 to about 2 or 3. So yeah, it's been a wild time. We've been adapting as we've been going along. Now that the sales have been coming back incrementally, I have attended about 7 auctions since within the last, about 12 auctions within the last 2 months. So what's happening now is, as you know, both of us are bald, and I'm outside and it's Ocean County, New Jersey, and it's like 20 degrees outside, and we're actually doing the auctions in the parking lot of the courthouse.
Okay, so they brought back the doorstep.
Yes, they brought it back old school. So at any point in time on a Tuesday, I'll be down in Ocean County crying sales. And it's relatively cold outside, as you would know.
Oh man, that's probably pretty difficult, but at the same time, I mean, hey, look, if we're getting back to the normal, that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. It's definitely
concerned, like, hey, like, when are auctions going to open back up again? And now it seems like they're starting to happen. Mm-hmm. So I think that's good news for all the investors out there listening on in today.
Absolutely. Today I was at an auction today in Morris County, and we had 1 asset,
Mhm.
There were another 2, 3 assets that belonged to another bank, but at that point in time, we had about 30 people in the room. And I actually sold the asset that I cried today, which was it was going for about I think it was 180, and it ended up selling for 270. So that was a good one, you know. Yeah, we were 1 for 1 today, so we actually had all of our assets go.
Oh, I'm curious. Are you guys seeing a large influx in investors showing up to the auctions?
To be honest with you, it's a little bit of both. At
Okay.
sometimes you'll have a lot of people, sometimes you'll have minimal because some people are still, you know, under the auspice of, you know, COVID. We don't know what's going on, and they're trying to be safe. But in some counties where they're resuming sales, I'll give you for example, let's say Essex County, New Jersey. The auction is at 2 o'clock. But in order for you to be allowed into the room, it would be smart for you to be there about 2 hours earlier because they have a cap on the amount of people that are actually entering the room. So even with me and myself and, you know, our colleagues who go in there and cry the sales, they may actually be only one of us that's allowed to go because we would have to preserve space for the other buyers who are in the room. So that's what we're running into within, excuse me, let's say Hudson counties and also Bergen County, which are relatively bigger counties that have the money that can afford to just, you know, have the moratoriums go. They're just holding back and they're saying, look, we won't sell anything unless it's abandoned or vacant property. And they're going ahead with those. So every county has their own jurisdiction and their own thing as to how they would like to actually get rid of theirs.
That's super interesting. I didn't even know that myself. So now, looking forward, I guess, into 2021, right? I guess, do you see the auction changing in order to account for the new normal, or do you see it kind of going back to the way it was? Like, well, what do you see going forward?
So moving forward, I see it as a little bit of both, mainly because you have a situation where some people are trying to get people acclimated to just going in online and keeping it safe for everybody during this time. And then you have some other counties who are saying, no, we're just going to do it our own way and we're not going to work with anyone. But given the fact that, you know, we've been working with these counties for years now, we're looking to try to see, you know, what type of relationship can we foster to help to make the process easier for them, especially being that we're already online. So it's just a matter of, you know, the counties and, you know, everyone else, along with ourselves, figuring out how we can help one another and how we can expedite the process without making it inconvenient for everyone, you know, because to be outside and, you know, you're in the cold, and you're crying a sale, sometimes it may take like, let's say 7 minutes for, or not even that, it may be 15 minutes just for one sale. Now, if you have 15 sales and all of them are going, that means you're outside for 2, 3 hours. I don't know how that's going to work moving forward. Let's say snow or, you know, just it being cold or rain. Like today, we had to have the sale at a county college on the tennis court in the outside. Yeah. So that's the new normal. So
Okay.
while they
So
were serving, we were actually serving papers. So
that's what's up. Okay, fine. So now, so I guess you're saying, so it kind of depends on each county on how they want to adapt with everything, and either they're going to go completely virtual where you'll be able to buy properties from the comfort of your own home,
yes,
or you may just have to sit out in the cold and blister up a little bit to get that really good deal.
yes, that's what it's looking like for right now. And like every county and every state is different. I know New York and you know, surrounding states. And then you and I talked earlier. It's like the tri-state shuffle right now. So you know, you have New Yorkers who we love that are coming over to New Jersey saying, "Hey, we didn't know it was that cheap over here to live," and we're saying, "Hey, come along, you know,
We
come down."
got you. Come on
And
in.
then you have some others who are moving out of New Jersey and saying, "Hey, oh, look, we need to take the operation to Philly." And then you have, you know, some people who are moving from Philly even to Connecticut. So it's the tri-state shuffle right now, and you know, it's a situation where everybody is looking to be comfortable, and hopefully, our assets and, you know, your lending products will help to provide that ease for us. Because as these people are looking for assets, they're also looking for opportunities to be able to get those assets, and that's where Express Capital comes into play.
Absolutely. And we'd be happy to work with anyone, obviously, that is looking to get involved on auction properties or any kind of real estate transactions. Now, I know obviously, you do a lot more, Justin, than just, help the investor find the asset and help them purchase it really at the auction,
Mhm.
right? So what are some of the like the value adds, and how do you go about assisting your clients when it comes to purchasing properties and just the entire process throughout?
So with me, it's a little bit of a two-prong approach. So I'm a realtor and investor by trade. I started in real estate like about 15 years ago. Started in title, went from title to processing, went from there to investing and being a realtor and property manager. I pretty much worked every asset of real estate. So being that I love it and it's a passion of mine, I always find myself in a position where people ask me questions and I love to give them the right answers, especially with something that I'm interested in. So for me, I always try to help the client or prospective client or investor from a standpoint of how can I help you? You know what I mean? And they may have an interest in, let's say, ground up or rehabs or anything like that. And I always try to give my professional opinion on what can be done. In that instance, I'll lend my realtor hat, meaning, I'll let them know, hey, look, this is what the property would sell for. If you listed it too high, these are how many days it's going to sit on the market. Knowing the area, knowing what the area needs, also having a little bit of foreknowledge of what's going to be coming into the areas. I help to try to educate people on every asset. I'm sorry, every facet of the asset as though it were me going into it. That's the realtor hat. In terms of like, what I've learned in the lending space, I do know that, Express Capital is definitely one of the top companies that you'd want to deal with on a hard money basis because you guys offer the best rates and the best terms and, much more than just willing to make money. You're actually looking to have a relationship, which puts you in a different capacity from everyone else. So with just knowing what I know in the lending space, I try to just give everyone all of the knowledge that I have so they can make the best decision possible. And as long as you do that and you're giving them the right information, you kind of can't go wrong. But in the event that I don't know, I always recommend someone who's smarter than I am, be it my real estate lawyer and attorney, or my broker, or just someone who else is around me that has been doing more on the topic than I have.
100%. You always want to deal with people that know, that have dealt with what they do and they do this on a daily basis. Obviously, there would be no question you would know more than the average person on auctions. You do it every day. You live it, you breathe it, you smell it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with everything else, right?
Mhm.
So definitely that's I love the fact that you also me and you, we met at networking events, right? And and the first couple of times it was the same thing each time. Like we saw each other, kind of worked out. We had this good connection where we were able to communicate with each other and understand that we're really just there to, provide value.
Mhm.
And that's where everything kind of just falls together, right? So
Absolutely.
that's we definitely appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Now, I'd love to also talk a little bit about, the auction.com platform. I think to me, it was mind blowing. A couple, when I first heard of it for the first time, it's like, whoa, I could buy properties from home and they're auctions and they're not, right? So how does this work? Could you just kind of give me some, give our viewers some direction on what it looks like to get involved, right? Do they have to have experience with this? Could they just get into it?
Mhm.
Give us like the high level.
Okay, cool. So, in terms of our platform, so with auction.com, let me tell you how I actually got with them. I would actually see the logo and the advertising everywhere. And I used to go on Zillow and I'm like, as a realtor, this would be the company that you would want to be with. And one day I just got tired and I just called for a week straight until I got someone that would call me back and that would talk to me. And I was fortunate and blessed enough to have my state area manager Jeff Minetti, give me a call back. And we met. And then afterwards, he asked me to be hired by auction. And that day pretty much changed my life, mainly because it's different when you're just a realtor, but it's much more better when you're dealing with a real estate company that has assets and they're doing something. So it gives you a little different dichotomy. But going back to when I first got to auction in the platform, I was just pretty much floored because, like you said, you're buying properties from home. I can do all of my research online. I don't have to leave the room. And while I love the live auctions with meeting the actual individuals and seeing who's buying the highest bidded property and stuff like that, it's nothing more convenient than and safe nowadays than sitting at home and just twiddling through and having one window up to make sure that your asset is appreciating or that it's a good asset, and the other one just to have there to look at the assets. So with the tools that they have that allows you to pretty much evaluate your properties, you would know and have a good insight as to what the property would be worth. You would also have the surrounding areas. We also have tools that are available to some investors who don't have the time, where we can actually assign someone to you that would bid on the properties for you. It's actually called remote bidding. So let's say if there's someone online today that's, not from New York, I think I heard Afia, or she's the only one from New York. Let's say if she had someone else, that was interested in buying properties in New York, and Afia had great knowledge and a platform, she would possibly be a remote bidder for someone to go and do that. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of different tools and assets a lot of different tools that are available to a registered user of auction.com. And the best part about it is it's free. You don't have to pay for an account or anything. The only thing you pay for is a fee when you actually purchase the property. And that's a fee that's assessed anywhere, be it live, digitally, so it works hand in hand. But the tools that they have for you to evaluate your property, to watch it. You may have a property that may be coming up and you might be, away or working on something else. You'll have an alert sent to you right away to let you know, hey, look, this has changed, or it's gone from one date to the other. I can go on and on about our tools, but I'd much more rather someone go online, look at it themselves. And if they have any issues or any questions at all, I'll drop my email. They can email me and I'll give them a call back and help walk them through any process of the platform that they would like.
That's amazing, man. So, and just to confirm, so is there any deposits to get started with the thing?
No.
So I don't even need to make it.
Yeah. Once you win your bid, then you would be required to put your deposit down. And then from there, I would highly recommend that they call Max so we can get the rest of the money that you need to go ahead and fulfill your entire obligation. And once that's done, I would suggest you start, working on your asset right away to have that asset appreciate, so you can start looking at the margin of money that you would be making.
Right. So I would actually probably recommend you call, if you are interested in buying auction properties, that you do call me first, right? It's important to know your buying power. The last thing I want you to do is be committed to a purchase that you can't fulfill. Mm-hmm. Right. So we don't want to lose any money, because you would tell me, I guess, if I don't close on a property that I put down some money on, I just don't come back.
Yeah, it doesn't come back.
Right. So that's really, the biggest thing when it comes to auction properties. But us at Express Capital, we work hand in hand with auction.com. We know how to make sure that we close the deal on time. We know how to make sure that everything happens. So call us first. Let us know what you're looking to do. Let us understand and break down your buying power for you, so that you know how to go about making your offers, what your highest offer should be, and so on and so forth. Is there anything else you want to share with our viewers before we open up for question and answers?
Other than we have the best platform for you to go get your assets, and I'm open to any questions. I'd be more than willing to hear what our people in the chat room have to say.
Absolutely, guys. So guys, please use the Q&A box, use the chat box. Let us know what questions you have. We're here. We want to answer them, whether it be about the auction properties. If you have a question about lending on auction properties, we're here to answer them for you. So I see Stan actually put in the first question. He's asking, isn't there a $2,500 deposit required to bid?
Yeah, if you're going to bid, we need to know that you actually have the money in play. So if you're going to bid, you definitely have to have money there to do that. Before, it wasn't that way until someone made a huge error. But yeah, you have to have $2,500 to bid, and yes.
And does that go towards their purchase, or does that how does that come back?
So that goes towards your purchase, yes.
Gotcha. Okay. But if I want to make an account, though, just to kind of get familiar with auction.com, that's where I don't need to do anything.
That's totally free. You can go in, you can look up any of our assets throughout the entire nationwide country. And you can use all of our tools free as well. The only fees that come into play are when you actually purchase a property, or if you have to put down a deposit up front to be able to bid on the sale. I'm sorry.
Gotcha. And guys, bring in the questions. We're going to stay out here for another minute or two to answer them for you. In the meantime, I guess I'm going to ask you something. So, are you seeing yet more properties come into the auction or is that still on hold until that, the whole evictions and foreclosures gets opened up again?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. Different states carry different outcomes. So with New Jersey, we're a highly Democratic state, so I see that the moratoriums are going to be upheld. Whereas some other states that are a little bit more Republican, they're going to go forward with it. Now, that's not like a party thing per se, but it just so happens that that's the way that things are reading. Now, in terms of like what's coming to the auction right now, there's the live ones, they're slowly but surely. Like we'll start out with about 10 assets that are coming, but then by the time we actually get to the actual process of doing it, most of those assets have been falling out. So what I'm seeing now is they're looking to uphold things on a moratorium end. And I mean, not my quote, but just my personal opinion, I don't see things normalizing the way that it was once to, at least until midway through the first quarter. And I say that because I already know that going into next year, once the new president gets in, they already talked about like a shutdown for a couple of months and things of that nature. But yeah, it's relatively interesting, and with this time, this is something new for everyone. So it would be hard for me to forecast what it's going to come, but it's looking like things will normalize, but relatively slowly.
Understood, and that's good for us too, right? We don't want everything to just pile in one shot. I don't think that's going to be beneficial for anybody.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely, whether it's on purpose or not, I think it's definitely going in the right direction.
Mhm.
So Dennis has a question. He's asking, the down payment is via credit card, I believe. How long does it take to be refunded if you don't win the property?
If you don't win the property, if I'm not mistaken, it's 24 to 48 hours,
Okay,
but it should be relatively smooth.
beautiful. And then Stan's asking a question. So, how does Express Capital financing work at an auction? Are we essentially pre-qualified to buy up to a certain amount based on our down payment? Essentially, yes, right? So, what we're looking to do is auction.com is going to release the information of an auction prior to the actual auction, right? Because you still got to do your homework. You want to know, hey, what's my maximum bid? And during this time, this is where we are communicating. We are talking about it, saying, hey, this is the purchase. Now, help me out here. I could be wrong about this, but do they usually have access to these properties or not often?
No, not often. Relatively, most of the times the properties either have someone in it or they don't. But we're not allowed to go and disturb anyone. Some realtors who can actually get into the property, that's a different situation. But typically the homes are either abandoned or someone is in them and you're able to bid on it then. I had a situation just real quick where somebody bought a home right before the COVID situation happened and they weren't able to evict the tenant. And, they actually made an offer to the tenant. They had to wait a couple of months, but, it's just a matter of how you go about doing things in today's time. But yeah, you'd want to try to hope, your best bet would be to purchase a property that no one's in, so you can go in right away. You don't have to worry about evicting anymore. So I want to give you both sides, so that way I'm not over embellishing.
Right, and the goal of that conversation really was just to bring up the fact that like we don't always know what we may have to do to the asset to get it into a performing stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we always recommend to do is, hey, let's estimate the worst case scenario. If I have to redo everything, what would that cost, right? Because that's most of the time what we're looking to do with these properties. And that's where we're going to have a conversation, because again, as lenders, Express Capital Financing is looking at the asset more than you, the borrower.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we can talk about the scenarios, get our homework done in time, come up with a maximum allowable offer. So the day that auction goes up there, you can either do it yourself, or as you mentioned, have a somebody do the bidding for you. You call it
remote bidding. Yes, it's
remote bidding.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So this way, once you have all that set, now it's just a matter of, hey, I want to get this property. Am I the highest bidder or am I the lowest bidder?
Right.
So that's where we at Express Capital Financing could go through the deal with you prior, make sure it fits, make sure it works for you, make sure it's something you want to get into. And this way, once the bid comes up, you're clear to go. Stan's on a roll with the questions. I love it. So can auction.com help with purchasing REOs?
Absolutely. So what happens is we actually sell and market the REO properties. We also have a department as well. Sometimes when the properties are reverted back, they become REO, and then we'll put them back out to be marketed and sold again. So yes, and going back to, I see Dennis is in here. Dennis, how are you this evening? I hope all is well on your end. So all properties do not have a clear title. For the most part, we'll read to you based on the title search that we've done, what we found, but it's always subject to what may be. So you'll always be in a situation where you're buying a property and you want to do your own title search and do your own due diligence before you go through. So that way, you know what may be applicable and what may not be.
Understood. So I guess Dennis and Stan had the same question, different format. So I guess that answered that for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
You want to take the next one from Robinson?
Sure. So, but before we get to Curve, I think he was saying that if we offer title insurance, no, we don't. You would be that's third party. You'd have to have your own. We do have someone who do ours, but we'd want both parties to do their due diligence, because sometimes on the title search, one company may find something that the other abstractor did. So you always want to be careful on that one. But going back for the legal documents and due diligence on the property, is there any help auction.com or a realtor can help with? So with auction.com, we provide to you all of the information that we can possibly find on the property and all of what the asset holder has provided to us. But still, as an investor, you're always more inclined to go and do your own due diligence, because again, you may see something that we might have missed or someone else, and that's not an illegal situation, but no one's perfect. So if we're running a title, again, you might find something different from another abstractor, or let's just say if something was going on with the property and it wasn't listed, you would do your due diligence by going out and looking at the property before you even knew that it was coming to sell. So I always advise before you go and purchase the property, look at all of the other assets that are in the area. Look at what may be coming a year, 2, 3, 4 years down the line. And then also look at the prices. So that way you can gauge and get a good indication of what your margin of a profit would be, or a loss in certain instances, but hopefully more of a gain than a loss.
Absolutely. And additionally, I mean, I would also even just talk to other investors that are buying at the auctions, right? They've been hurt, they've won, and they know, what mistakes they've made and what they would fix.
Mm-hmm.
Learn from them, right? That's what we're doing here today. We're trying to learn from people that have done this before, Justin, and that's what we're trying to fill our head with all this knowledge. So now Dennis is asking another question for you. How often does a property sell below the reserves?
Never. Property always, you always meet the reserve. If for any reason it reverts back, it goes back to the bank. So you would never be able to sell a property for less than what it's worth, because the bank would take it, obviously.
Right. And at that point, it's either what they want or it comes back, I'm assuming, right?
Pretty much. It goes back, it gets reverted back, and then they'll put it back out again with the hopefulness of someone coming in and purchasing at that price or above.
Awesome. Well, you guys have really brought in some awesome questions. Thank you so much for all of that. I hope everyone was able to learn something from this and take something away. Guys, we do appreciate the feedback. Let us know. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. We'll make sure to also send out a copy of this webinar to everyone that attended, so you can watch it again, listen again. We'll also share Justin's contact information. And Justin, I guess, do you want me to put it in for you in the chat box if you want to say it out loud?
Absolutely. Anybody in here, feel free to reach out. Stan, Afia, Dennis, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'll be more than happy to assist you guys with the platform, and anyone else. And hopefully I'll see you guys next week. This one will be my last one.
How could they reach you?
You can reach me by the info that you put in the box, and then also I'll give you guys a direct contact. It's 201. Actually, I'll put it in the box. 201-423-8233, or I can be reached at jfordham@auction.com.
Awesome, guys. Well, it's in there for the chat box for you. We do appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much, Justin, for all your knowledge and information. And we look forward to